There's something about the links to skateboarding, BMX, surfing, punk rock that has greater substance and greater integrity and greater meaning for people to identify with these shoes.
So my name's Steve Van Doren, and I'm Vice President of Events and Promotions globally. Really the brand ambassador. I've been around for 56 years since my dad started Vans with my Uncle Jim and Gordon Lee, and back in 1966.
Buongiorno, I'm Henry, Pillow Heat, Vans historian, collector, and specialist dealer in vintage American-made Vans, shoes and ephemera. Yeah, I think it's safe to say I'm the biggest collector of original Vans in the world, and I've always been obsessed with fashion, product, design, footwear, and it started over 20 years ago, the focus on Vans itself. Design-driven shoe with integrity, with style, workmanship, with quality, and it spoke to me. And 22 years later, here I am.
The history of Vans starts back from Boston. My dad worked at a shoe company for 20 years in Boston called Randy's. He was asked to move to California in 1964, and then about a year later he had a disagreement with the owner, and my dad left. And so he had an idea that he wanted to make his own shoes and put them in his own stores. My uncle was a great engineer, mechanic, built all the machinery, and the three men, only them, built a whole factory, and ready in 1966, opened up Vans Shoes. It was called Van Doren Rubber Company.
I think what sets the brand apart are the cultural links that underlie the brand.
The skateboarders and surfers started to like our shoes. We started seeding and giving shoes to people like Tony Alva. And in the mid-70s, we came out with the very first off-the-wall shoe, which is 1976.
Vans listened to these young skate rat kids who wanted more cushioning, they wanted more style, more flair, and the off-the-wall delivered that. So that catapulted them into the imagination of kids in skate, surf, BMX, and youth culture. Another pivotal moment was the film Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 1982.
Listen up.
Sean Penn went into our Santa Monica store and he bought a pair. The film people called up and said, hey, one of our actors got a pair of these black and white checkerboard shoes. Could you give us more pairs? The rest was history.
This was the moment which really thrust the brand into the global consciousness on a more mainstream level.
Thinking back to the early 80s when WP contacted my dad and Jimmy about making special shoes up for WP for their stores. I was kind of shocked that in the past, before then, it was skaters and surfers and snowboarders. Okay, and now all of a sudden, a fashion coming out of Italy, WP Lavori stores carrying Vans with their special paisley prints, very vivid colors, way different combinations that WP would teach us what they liked, and we would just follow that.
The connection between Whoopee and Vans began in the early 80s, but it was cemented in 1988 when the collaboration was elevated by this licensing deal of apparel. Talking about the highlights of the Whoopee collection, of course the shoes are my favorite, but it's the clothing that was unique. The denim details were a highlight with the 95 here on the pocket. The understated, heavy-duty, pinstripe, thick cotton shirt right here. Beautiful style 95 here on the pocket. One of the absolute highlights, which reveals more. Check out this acid wash reptilian, scaled, hideous jacket, which is super cool. Heavy duty zippers will last forever. But wait, there's more. The winter collection, Vans, Ice Twice, Sporting Resort, checkerboard, knitted gold, with the US ski team hat right here. But wait, there's more. My personal favorite of the collection, better mad than dead, Vans Mutants t-shirts right here. An absolute piece of gold. This is what sets this collection apart. You know, the bandana print, the paisley print, the convertible shoe, which was an Italian concept, which went on to influence things around the world. So these are an absolute highlight. The impact that this relationship between Whoopee and the Italian culture was huge. And of course, Vans was there in skateboarding circles and BMX circles, but bringing this to a fashion landscape and influencing the Paninari, for example, it became staple uniform for them in the summer months. Look at these patchwork prints. These are incredibly rare. You'd never see this stuff. Super cool. Apparently this is what the jeans came in. I mean, even the packaging, everything about what Whoopee were doing, the communications, the catalog, the retail spaces, the marketing, it was next level, and essentially it was ahead of its time. You know, only now is it really being understood for the influence that it's had on European culture and fashion. My expectations of the upcoming Vans and Whoopee collaboration is hopefully something special. I'm very excited to see that some clothing is back and part of the collection, and hopefully made to a similar level and stoking people around the world. Walking in here today, it's, you know, immediately impressed. The depth, everything about it. You know, this is my world, so I love Vans, but I have huge appreciation for all vintage, Americana, you know, surfwear, streetwear. So coming here is very special for me. I think the significance of brand archives is enormous. You can see it in the global fashion landscape, brands advocating their heritage more and more. How Vans can remain relevant, continuing to evolve and innovate, while at the same time representing where they've come from and the rich culture that underlies the brand.
It's passion. It's consistency for 5 decades. We haven't changed. There's something like 22 million fans in the Vans family around the world that we need to just keep talking to.